The atmosphere within the McLaren team last year was wrecked at Imola San Marino Grand Prix. Alain Prost claiming Senna broke a gentleman's agreement by overtaking after the first corner. From then on, it was war. In October, the famous incident at Suzuka, Senna had to get past Prost to keep his championship hopes alive.
This is the opportunity that Senna's looking for, and he's going through. Ouch! Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. They meet, and that means to say that Prost has won the World Championship.
Not to Senna's way of thinking, he hadn't. Alain Prost's first reaction was to get out of the car and consider the race and the championship over. Senna rejoined the race via bypassing the chicane. Although the Brazilian went on to win the race, that incident forced his disqualification. Senna's reaction was to accuse the governing body FISA of rigging the championship. FISA's reaction came via the volatile Jean-Marie Balestre.
This page of your friend Autosport, 26 October this week, civil war over world title.
FISA withheld Senna's license until he'd apologized for his rigged championship statement. The apology was a long time coming and not exactly wholehearted. But last week, McLaren and Senna proved their worth to Formula One. A big crowd came to Estoril just to watch him test. It seems there's a very uneasy peace in the championship, but during the bleak recent days, had Senna genuinely considered quitting Formula One?
I have not only considered, I have put forward a proposal on the last minute this month in February that I was prepared to stop in order that all the parties involved, as far as McLaren was concerned and Honda and all the sponsors, would have automatically end on this dispute and everything would be quiet. The other option was to go on and fight. But I present those two options both to Ron Dennis and to Mr. Kawamoto, the Vice President of Honda, for them to decide, to make the decision, and whichever was their decision, I would go along completely in peace.
Your instinct is to go on and fight, though?
Of course, my instinct is to go and fight because I think it's in my personality, my character, that if you believe in something, if you have principles, you go to it right to the end. And until everything is not over, you don't give up.
You make it sound as if you're not approaching the new season with your usual enthusiasm.
I think you never repeat things. You never go through the same feelings. And year after year, you get more experience. You get older as well. And your expectations and your feelings also get changed. I wouldn't be saying the truth if I say, no, my motivation is exactly the same. It's not the same, it has changed, but I am also professional, and I know I'm a part of a great effort in order to win, to be successful. And I'm sure when it comes down on sitting in the car and driving, like I did today, I will perform to my best ability. I'll be doing my very best, not only for myself, but for everybody involved. That's how I intend to approach the 1990 season.
The impression that we always get about your motivation, legendary motivation almost, 100% determination to win, an almost computer-like approach to the sport has been described. Do you relish that description?
I think perhaps because of my education and my attitude, people tend to put things in the direction of computer and robot and things like this, and this is not quite true. I am sure that the people who really knows me, the people who really work with me close, that understand my feelings all day long, during all weekend of racing, they know that it is very different. What I try to do is to detach myself from all the outside distractions that can occur in order that I can concentrate deeper and focus into my job, into my driving, into my setting up the car. And most people see it as a robot and computer program, and this is not the case. I have lots of emotions and lots of feelings inside, and I just try to control them as much as possible to not allow mistakes to come out or distractions to be around me.
What are the emotions that you feel in a racing car, the emotions that you're trying to control?
Well, the desire to go faster and faster all the time, the desire to be ahead, to be the fastest, and to be successful, and to win, of course, not only races but the championship. And that gets translated in many occasions into angry, situations that are present to you, frustrations, hunger of getting something or getting somebody that is playing around, but you have to put it all together somehow. And
is that true? Is there an element of that, or is that just our misinterpretation?
in many occasions, yes, because when you feel like people are playing silly games, stupid games, it's a human instinct to go and get them, but I suppose most drivers have it. Once we are fighting there in order to win and fighting so close, the competition brings out those kinds of feelings. But I guess the degree that we all experience that is perhaps different than most athletes, because we are also playing with a dangerous activity, where you have a machine that goes very fast and can be a very dangerous thing, not only for you but for other people. So we expose ourselves to danger much more than anybody, and we are used to be at the edge more than anybody. And that feeling of edge and danger is something very attractive, as well difficult to control, to not go over it, and to be close to it but not over it.
To what element then is fear an emotion you feel inside the car? Is that an important emotion to feel?
It determines your limits, of course. If you don't have any fear, your limits would be different, and probably you would get hurt quite easy. I think fear is a very important feeling, fundamental feeling of self-preservation.
Would you say that you have less fear inside a cockpit than other drivers maybe around you?
I don't know how much fear they have. I know that I have enough to keep me in control and to keep me as healthy as I am.
A further accusation from FISA was that Senna has driven dangerously over a long period. Other drivers like Nigel Mansell might support that, Senna colliding with Mansell in the Estoril black flag incident. This was Senna in the opening round last year, Brazilian Grand Prix, and a crash at the very first corner with Gerhard Berger. People say he rarely concedes a corner and hates to be overtaken. Here's how he reacts to that.
One thing I'm sure I have had all my life, a very, very strong and good education. And from that education I have got, again, clear and strong principles in way of behaving. And that's where I'm guided for. I use those lines and those guidelines to move as a man, as a professional. And I don't regret anything. I just feel I'm doing things for the right reason. Some understand, some don't. In the end, you never get everybody to understand, to agree and to accept. But most of them, I'm sure, admire, after all, what I'm doing as a professional and as a man, and as many drivers do. We are exposing our lives, they are consistent. And the reason for it is only one, is to succeed, is to win, is to get the thrill when you cross the finish line in first place.
Religion is an important part of your life. Is it an important part of your sporting life as well?
Religion has always been important in my life, has become even more important over the past 2 years, or just under the last 2 years. And it gives me the peace and the equilibrium that I need to perform under stress, under pressure, all the time. And I have found through God a special way of living and a special way of understanding many things in life, which I didn't have before I really start to understand what God is all about.
Senna suffers in comparison to the relaxed image of other drivers. Alain Prost is approachable and doesn't seem to be dominated by the sport quite like Senna. The same could be said of Nigel Mansell, who certainly can match Senna for motivation, but has the kind of family support that helps keep things in perspective. For the 1990 season, Senna is joined at McLaren by Gerhard Berger, who knows all about the dangers of the sport and will only reluctantly settle for second best. You only rarely see Senna playing the glamorous role at the race circuits of the world. But for 1990, he's weighed up the opposition, decided who he respects and who he admires, and reached a surprise conclusion.
Well, you may find it funny because I have lots of criticisms from some of those that I'll mention. I admire a lot Prost by his results. I admire a lot Mansell by his determination, his results too. We have difference in many areas, but that doesn't change the fact that they have achieved great results. They have achieved great situations, which you've got to admire, you've got to respect. And I admire other drivers like Butsen as a friend too, you know, as a good, self-balanced man, and many others.
You mentioned Nigel Mansell, you mentioned Alain Prost. How is it, we know the specific incidents involved, of course, but how is it, do you think, that battle seemed to endure over the whole of the 89 season, that atmosphere existed?
Well, I think in such a sport where ego is always under pressure, under question, it's difficult for people to maintain balance all the time and not be influenced by the press, by the media, by some friends, or by some people who are called friends, you know, and end up making wrong judgments and wrong decisions. I made mistakes. You know, I'm not cleaning all of that. I have made mistakes, but one thing that I am sure, the mistakes I have done were in good faith and never in a way of thinking of destroying and damaging others. I'm not so sure if that has been the same case from other people towards to me.
For the 1990 season, you've got a new teammate in Gerhard Berger. What are the important elements of a teammate? What do you require from a teammate in the context of the team?
First of all, lots of respect and a good education. I think if you have those two things, then together with the technical knowledge which is required in order to have a good car setup and development, then you have the ingredients to have a good both professional and personal relationship. I think I have been through difficult situations as far as relationship is concerned with other teammates. So did Gerhard. We both understand the difficulties, we both experience the difficulties, and we're both aware that we got to give a special effort, a good try in order to give both of us and the team a positive environment in which to work, and therefore benefit from it as far as motivation is concerned, as far as technical knowledge, information to be exchanged, and have a better time.
But what has gone before has clearly affected your build-up to the season. Finally, how confused are you about the situation as you head for Phoenix?
One thing I have got very clear in my mind is that now I want to be in Phoenix, I want to be racing there, and I want to race the whole championship. I want to fight it right from the beginning to the end to my best ability and give a very good shot to get my second world title. Everything else is past, has not been forgotten, but is past. And I hope to use it as a good experience in order to prevent it happening again in the future.
How can you do that? You're going to head for Phoenix, the press are going to besiege you, you're going to be put in a very uncomfortable position about the things you say, once again being misinterpreted. It's going to be a tough few weeks, isn't it?
Well, it's part of it. I think this is a price you pay for being a driver from the most successful team over the past few years, being a driver that has won and has been in front so many times over the past few years, and somebody that has got some personality and some character too. Then people just want to know what are your thoughts and your actions. If you weren't that, people wouldn't bother to know what you're doing. So it's a price I have to pay.
Ayrton Senna.